Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I want to bring you all a book review on Incredible Wild Edibles by Samuel Thayer. If we look at the table of contents in this book, we're going to notice that the plant accounts are organized alphabetically, so that is a really nice feature because if you're looking for something specific that he covers in this book, you can just flip through and find it alphabetically instead of flipping all over throughout the book looking for it. In the very beginning of the book, in the introduction of the book, he has a section called Why Forage, and he explains why foraging can be good. He gives you some good tips on how to forage safely so that way you don't make a mistake and harm yourself or harm the environment as well. He covers some very brief basics like how to identify new plants, different equipment that you might need, the legality and practicality of foraging in different spaces and different environments. A really good section that I really personally enjoyed reading a lot of, and I go through and I reread this section frequently because I find it just really enjoyable and a really good read. I always notice something different each time I read it that I didn't quite pick up on the last time that I read it. So that's a really interesting portion about this gathering thoughts. He gives you some essays on wild foods, and throughout here, he covers things like different environments for gathering and some of the ways that wild plants can work together. He covers things like invasive plants like we can see right here on this page. He even goes through and he covers what he calls the Roundup Revolution, where he talks about how herbicides are destroying our natural environments for short-term profits due to things like logging or basically just mismanagement of the land. And he talks about how us foragers can come together and really help the environment by foraging, and we also have to be careful to avoid areas that are covered with these herbicides because those can be very dangerous to our health. And so it's a really nice thing that he covers that, and he covers it in pretty good detail, and he gives some really good examples and some really good accounts of the dangers of Roundup. And like I said, throughout this, he talks about how Roundup and how different herbicides are being used over extensively on lands that the organizations like our Department of Wildlife and DNR and stuff like that are overusing these herbicides to basically keep their cash crop of wood available instead of allowing people to forage. They're using herbicides, and us foragers can really help out a lot because we are a lot better at managing an environment and getting rid of plants in a natural way, and we also get food from the process. So basically this is a really good thing to read, especially if you use a lot of herbicide around your home. He talks about how the spray drift over time of that herbicide can also affect the local plants that are nearby. Now, just like in all of his other books at the beginning, he also has a foraging calendar where it gives you this color-coded chart that describes the different plant parts from the plants that he talks about in this book and which time of year they are best to gather them. So this is a really helpful feature for those of you who are still wondering when the best time to gather certain plant parts are. And honestly, I reference these sometimes as well, even myself, because, hey, let's face it, I don't know everything, and I certainly don't remember everything. So this is a really useful feature for anybody who is wanting to learn more about wild plants. After we get into that, we start delving into the plant accounts, and one of the nice things about this book, considering it is his newest and most recent book, it was published in 2017, the photographs, there are a lot of photographs, and these are very big, high-quality photographs, so they're really easy to determine what you're looking at. Now, his very first book does have some nice photographs as well, but they're few and far between. His second book has even more photographs, and this one has even more than his last one. So he's really stepping up his photograph game, which is really nice for those of us who are more photographic learners. In each plant part, he gives you a description, and at the very beginning of each plant account, he talks about his personal experiences with these plants, and then he goes into a botanical description of the plant. He'll talk about the habitat, how to harvest and how to prepare it. It'll also give you a map of the US and Canada where the plant grows throughout our continent. As we can see here, these photographs are really nice and they're really in depth. The subtext underneath the photographs also helps describe what it is. Hi, Simba. Excuse my kitty. The subtext underneath the photographs helps give a really, really nice description of what exactly it is we're seeing. And each one of these photographs will correspond with whatever you're reading that is on the page. Now, one thing you might notice as you flip through this book is that not every plant account is going to be the same number of pages in length. Some of them are only 3 or 4 pages. Some of them are 20 or 30 pages. This is a very thick book. There are 479 pages in this book, so there is definitely a lot to pick up on and there is definitely a lot to read. Another thing I really like about his books is where he gives you this skull and crossbones to tell you very clearly that this plant is poisonous. And this is a good way to help delineate poisonous plants from non-poisonous plants, or lookalikes, or what he calls look-similars. And as we can see here, he gives a lot of really in-depth, very, very good descriptive photographs, and the subtext underneath and above these photographs helps us to understand what exactly we're looking at whenever we look at these photos. So this is a really, really nice feature, and he does this throughout all of his books. So that's really nice, so that way you don't go out and accidentally gather the wrong plant, and this way you know what it is you're looking at and you know what it is you're harvesting. Now, as we can see as we flip through the book, there is a whole lot of information here. There are a lot of really beautiful color photographs. Honestly, sometimes I like to flip through just to look at the photos. Here he's talking about maple syrup harvesting and how to harvest maple sap. So there's kind of an idea of what the inside of the book looks like. Now let's go back to the back. There you can see the man, the myth, the legend. Of course, like any other good book, there is an index, of course. But let's get past that. He has a section, recommended reading and resources of different books and different things that you might want to look at for extra learning, which is a really good thing that he does, because he's not saying that he's the end-all be-all of this information. He really does want you to learn from multiple sources of information, and I could not agree more with that sentiment. It is always a good idea to have multiple sources, to have multiple people to learn from, because everybody has something new to teach somebody. There's also a really, really good glossary in the back of the book. As we can see here, it is several pages, and here he goes through botanical terms and he describes them, and there's really nice line drawings that also help explain different parts of plants and flowers and bark and things like that, which is also a really, really nice feature. And these line drawings are very, very good and extremely accurate. So this glossary of botanical terms is really helpful for those of you who are still learning botanical terms, because trust me, there's a lot of them, and they can be kind of confusing at times. Then, of course, like any other really good book, he has his bibliography, where he gives you his sources, where he got some of the information within this book. Now, some of the information in this book is from his own personal experiences of decades of foraging. So not everything is sourced, but all the pertinent stuff that needs to be sourced is sourced. And that's a really good thing. As we can see, there are multiple pages of a bibliography here. So that is the book Incredible Wild Edibles, 36 Plants That Can Change Your Life by Samuel Thayer. This is an amazing book, and just like all of his other books, they're all honestly amazing. Anytime you get one of Samuel Thayer's books, you know you're getting into the good stuff. You're getting into the meat and potatoes, if you will. Obviously not meat, but you're getting into the substantial information when it comes to foraging. I've yet to find wild food authors who cover plants in as much detail and as much simplistic detail as he does. He really, really makes this stuff available for everybody just by the way he describes it. He doesn't go into extreme complex discussions about things, but he covers a lot of really important things with in-depth knowledge, and that's a really good thing. Like I said, this guy's been foraging for decades, so he certainly has a lot of experience and he certainly knows what he's talking about. So that's my review on 36 incredible wild edibles. And, Samuel Thayer is just a really, really good wild plant author. He's been doing this for decades, so he certainly knows what he's talking about. I hope this video has helped you guys to determine whether or not this book is for you. And in my opinion, if you are interested in foraging at all, this book is certainly one you need to have on your bookshelf and in your backpack. So I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.